Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. Serena Williams' ex-coach, skeptical of Emma Radu and Spaniards' doubles partnership, woven into a fictionalized story, infused with metaphor, tension, and a bit of satire, all within the 2,000-word limit, of puppies, legends, and a doubtful coach. When Carlos Alcaraz stepped onto the practice courts in Mallorca, the Mediterranean sun casting golden halos over the red clay, there was no denying the energy crackling in the air. Beside him, Rafael Nadal stood with his quiet thunder, stoic and timeless, like the rocky cliffs that dotted the coastline behind them. And trailing them, a British figure who moved like a shadow yet spoke like a storm, Emma Radu. To most, this unexpected partnership of Alcaraz and Radu was thrilling. Youth, charm, international flair. A marketing dream, a fan's fantasy. But not everyone bought into the dream. Across the ocean, sipping espresso in a Manhattan cafe and glaring at his phone as if it had insulted his backhand, Patrick Mouratoglou raised a skeptical eyebrow. The former coach of Serena Williams, a man who'd weathered the fiercest storms of the WTA and forged champions with cold steel, had just seen a clip from the Alcaraz-Radu doubles practice. He wasn't impressed. "Carlos looks like a lost puppy with Rafa," he murmured to a journalist seated across from him, and pairing him with Emma. "It's like teaching two kids to fly by throwing them off the Eiffel Tower. Pretty, but reckless." The quote would light tennis Twitter on fire within hours. Chapter 1. The Puppy and the King. Carlos Alcaraz, now a Grand Slam champion, was no longer the teen sensation he had once been. But next to Nadal, whose presence on court seemed carved out of myth, Carlos still found himself hesitating. Not in ability, in posture, in presence. He felt like a puppy trailing a lion. "Carlos," Rafa said during one exchange, tossing him a damp towel, "you don't need to follow my footsteps. You have your own path." But Carlos looked down at his feet, clay-smeared and clumsy. He wanted to fit in Rafa's prints so badly, he was forgetting to run his own race. And then there was Emma. Chapter 2. The Stranger with a Crown. Emma Radu arrived like a gust of fresh London rain, stylish, precise, and with a hint of melancholy that often comes with sudden fame. Her U.S. Open victory had been meteoric, her follow-up seasons less so. Injuries, coaches, questions. And now, here she was in Spain in doubles training with Alcaraz, a story that confounded even the savviest of tennis analysts. "I think it's genius," her agent had said. "She needs grounding. He needs rhythm. They complement each other." But Mouratoglou wasn't buying it. "This isn't a movie. Chemistry doesn't equal compatibility. Tennis isn't just about playing. It's about timing. And right now, both of them are out of sync." Still, the experiment had begun. Chapter 3. Mixed Messages. Their first match as a duo came at a charity exhibition in Barcelona, billed as La Nueva Ola, the New Wave. Tickets sold out in minutes. Alcaraz showed up with nerves masked behind a smile. Emma wore confidence like perfume, light but noticeable. The crowd adored them. But on court, the chemistry was strange. Carlos overplayed. Emma second-guessed. When Carlos leaped for a signature jumping forehand and accidentally knocked into Emma, who was moving in for a volley, the moment was more sitcom than sports highlight. Back in New York, Mouratoglou folded his arms. "I told you," he said to no one in particular. Lost puppy. Chapter 4. The Ghosts of Greatness. In the locker room after the match, the silence between Carlos and Emma stretched. "Was it that bad?" Emma finally asked, sipping electrolyte water. Carlos shrugged. "Not bad. Just confusing. You play like you're trying to impress someone." He didn't reply, but she knew. Rafael. And she played like she was trying not to be noticed. Fame had turned a spotlight into a burn. "Maybe Patrick's right," Emma said with a half-laugh. Carlos turned, his eyes suddenly fierce. "He's not." She raised an eyebrow. "You really care what he says?" "No, but I care about what we do next." And that was the moment it shifted. Chapter 5. The Comeback Kids. They trained differently after that. Less focus on strategy. More on rhythm, on trust. Carlos stopped glancing over at Nadal during practice. Emma began calling shots instead of deferring. They laughed more, argued occasionally. They became a team, not a headline. Their next match was not for charity. It was at a low-tier ATP/WTA mixed event, far from the glittering arenas. They weren't seated. Most didn't notice. But the game. Electric. Alcaraz's fire. Raducanu's finesse. Each point a negotiation. Each set a conversation. They won in 3, storming the court like children after a school bell. Chapter 6. Mouratoglou's second look. Patrick watched from his flat in Paris, this time. The feed was shaky, the court poorly lit, but he saw it. The poise, the timing, the spark. He didn't call them champions. Not yet, but he made a note in his journal, a single line. Even puppies grow teeth. He still wasn't convinced, but for once, he was curious. Epilogue, the long game. Months later, at the mixed doubles quarterfinals of a Grand Slam, Alcaraz and Raducanu stood at match point. The stadium buzzed, half holding breath. Carlos turned to Emma and gave her a grin. "Lead us," he whispered. She did. A perfect serve. An impossible return. A soft drop volley. Game. Set. Match. In the press room, someone asked about Mouratoglou's old quote. Carlos just laughed. "I was a lost puppy," he said. "But Emma, she taught me how to hunt." Emma rolled her eyes, but she smiled. And the world, watching, began to believe. The stadium lights of Roland Garros shimmered like a halo over Court Philippe Chatrier. It wasn't the French Open, not yet, but a special exhibition tournament meant to raise funds for grassroots tennis across Europe. The event featured an unlikely doubles pairing that had everyone talking, arguing, and speculating. Emma Radu and Carlos Alcaraz. The partnership sounded like a marketing fever dream. One was the British wonderkind who'd shocked the world with a U.S. Open title at 18, then disappeared into a string of injuries and public scrutiny. The other, Spain's golden boy, already a 2-time slam winner, and heir apparent to Rafael Nadal, with foot speed like wildfire and a smile that disarmed even the sternest line judges. But what truly stirred the pot was Patrick Mouratoglou's statement on the eve of their first match. Carlos was like a lost puppy with Nadal in training. "You really think this doubles pairing is going anywhere? Emma's trying to find her game. Carlos doesn't even play doubles. It's charming, but it's not tennis." Cue social media implosions, think peace marathons, and hashtag wars. But behind the noise, 2 young stars stood quietly in the locker room, preparing to step onto the red clay. Chapter 1. The Puppy and the Panther. Carlos had always looked up to Nadal. His entire playing style bore Rafa's DNA. Topspin heavy forehands, the left-handed looping serves, the clay court footwork. But there was something poetic and almost pathetic about watching him try to emulate Nadal during a joint practice session earlier that week. Nadal, calm and composed, rallied with machine precision. Carlos overhit, underhit, apologized mid-rally, and chased down every ball with a frenetic energy that made him look like, well, a lost puppy. Emma, watching from the baseline, sipped water and smirked. "You tried too hard around him," she said later during a walk through the Jardin du Luxembourg. "He's your hero, not your mirror." Carlos blinked. "What do you mean, mirror?" "You don't need to become him. You're already enough. You're Carlos Alcaraz. If that's not enough for you, it's more than enough for the rest of us." He didn't reply, but he smiled. It wasn't often someone talked to him that way, not even Juan Carlos Ferrero, his coach, who mostly nodded and said, "Bien, Carlitos," even when things weren't bien. Chapter 2. The Press Circus. Patrick Mouratoglou's words were still trending the day of their first match. Reporters surrounded Emma with predictable questions. "Are you and Carlos dating? Do you see this as a serious doubles partnership or just a publicity stunt?" "Did you hear what Patrick Mouratoglou said?" She answered with her trademark poise. "No, we're not dating. Yes, we're here to compete. And no, I don't listen to unsolicited advice from ex-coaches." Meanwhile, Carlos was asked what it was like to be compared to a lost puppy. He laughed. "If I'm a puppy, Emma is the panther," he said. "Elegant, deadly, and probably wants to bite Patrick." That quote made headlines too. Chapter 3. Match point, misstep, and music.